So I went and saw Brave the other day. This video will not contain spoilers. And being a person who has waited pretty much their entire life for Pixar to make a movie with a female protagonist, I was pretty happy with Brave. I'm always a little nervous when it comes to kids' movies, especially movies about princesses, because the long-running theme with princesses is that they can only find happiness through a handsome prince or a knight in shining armor. But what I loved about Brave is that the storyline really didn't focus on finding true love or romance or any of that. Over and over again in these stories about romance, kids are taught that the most powerful and magical force on earth is heterosexual romantic love. But kids ages like 4 through 10 who understand these stories, they usually don't have that kind of love in their lives. The kinds of love that are going to be the most personally relevant to kids are love between friends and love among family. And call me crazy, but I think it's important that kids understand that the bond between themselves and their own parents is just as strong and just as important as the bond between that prince and that princess. Now, Pixar has done a beautiful job over the years of making stories that don't focus on straight romance. They made movies like the Toy Story movies, which are all about the importance of friendship, and then movies like Finding Nemo and The Incredibles, which are all about family. And these are the stories that kids can really relate to their own lives. They can look at Finding Nemo and say, yes, that bond that I feel between myself and my parent is just as strong and just as powerful as that bond between Marlin and Nemo. And this is exactly what they've done again with Brave. Only Brave is a little different because it's a story about a daughter and her mother, which just thank you, Pixar! As someone who grew up in a family that consisted mostly of my sister, my mother, and myself, the mother-daughter relationship is something that's really important to me, and it's something that I feel isn't explored or expressed properly in kids' movies very much at all. I loved Finding Nemo when I was a kid. I saw it like 4 times in the theater or something, but there was always a little part of me that felt excluded because it's a story about a father and a son. Way too often in kids' movies, the mother is dead, or absent, or evil. But Brave expresses to kids that their relationship with their mom is important, and also that disagreeing with her doesn't make her evil. Merida and Eleanor disagreed a lot, but there wasn't a single moment in the movie where you doubted that they loved one another, because that's the way normal relationships between mothers and daughters are. You butt heads sometimes, and it's okay to butt heads sometimes, but you always love one another. And you should also do your best not to screw up the other one's life, whether it be through an unwanted marriage ceremony or a drastic magical spell. Now, I don't really want to talk about the main lessons Merida learns by the end because I don't think I could talk about those without spoiling everything. But I will say that I think this movie teaches kids a lot of important stuff about relationships with their parents, especially their mothers. Kids learn a lot more through movies than we think they do. And when kids see a relationship like Merida and Eleanor's being portrayed as powerful and important and beautiful, that affirms for them that their relationships with their own parents are just as powerful and important and beautiful. And that's why it just makes me really happy to know that kids are going to grow up with a movie like Brave. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna go read a book because it's almost the end of June and I need to catch up on the 50 book challenge. But if you have thoughts about Brave or children's movies or life in general, leave them in the comments. I'd love to continue this conversation. I loved this movie, if you couldn't tell. I'm also doing July Fluffy Hat again this year, which means I'm going to be making 10 videos next month, so you'll probably be seeing me again soon with a book review video. Until then, bye. As someone who grew up in a family that consisted mainly of balls. My family consisted mainly of balls.